I messed up really badly. I'm $250,000 in student loan debt. 49,000, which is federal, 202,000 of the debt is private. I came from an education at all cost household. So I went to a private out of state school to do an accelerated PharmD program. It didn't work out. I graduated with a bachelor's in farm science and I'm finishing up an MBA this year. Currently living at home. No credit card debt, pretty great credit score, no car payments, no serious financial commitments or payments. Currently making some bad money in entry level role in the biotech industry. It pays 63,000. But my team is grooming me to become a well-rounded professional in our industry. Career outlook isn't terrible. I'll be bringing in six figures within the next 2 years. I have $15,000 in emergency savings, approximately 5,000 in a Roth account. However, I'm still very concerned about what my next 5 years will look like. I love my parents to death, but they pushed these loans on me. They assured me they'd help me and that I shouldn't worry about the money despite me questioning this sentiment every step of the way. It's a tough situation, but I want to approach a solution. They go on to ask some questions, which I'm not going to directly address. I don't want paying off this debt to consume me, but I feel like I don't have a choice but to put my life on pause to take this on. I've been kicking myself every day for this. I know one day I can get out of this, but I'm so frustrated because I don't even know where to start. I beg no judgment. Please help. First off, you cannot put anything on social media, myself included, and not expect people to judge. I understand why people say no judgment because they just want responses, but people also have to understand to give a response, there has to be some level of judgment. So, as you know, any judgment, my 202, my $110,000 student loan forgiven in 2022, not been forgiven that long. Okay, it still feels very new and fresh after having it for 16 years. So let's take a look here. Oh, also for those of you, happy Tuesday evening. For those of you not familiar with when I do readings off the computer, student loan stories, Reddit, whatever, this is really informal. There is no quiet room. This is just kind of like tea and gab time. And that would be very, very time consuming for me to go through the stories and try to make quiet room versions of all of them. Just not possible. But this is meant to be very casual. So kick back, relax, drink your tea, coffee. I know one of you is also driving a truck and you listen to it as you do your local delivery. So please drive safely. Okay, yes, 99, I'm talking to you. All right, so $250,000 in student loan debt. Let's go ahead and break this down. 25 years old, they have purchased a house. When people sit and they take on these massive student loans, you have purchased a house that you cannot live in. The part that really sunk me was when they said that they have $49,000 in federal and $200,000 respectively in private loans. It should have been flipped. Why the bejesus they took out $200,000 in private and not to do it in the federal, I do not understand. Had it been reversed, I would have said take on the federal job and get that $200,000 student loan forgiven. And people forget that, that's in they go, but federal jobs pay so low, federal, state, city jobs, whatever. The ones that have PSLF, public service loan forgiveness, but people forget. You walk away not only after having having your student loan paid off after 10 years, but in most cases you walk away with a pension as well because you are taking on government jobs, and most government jobs, one of the last areas that has a pension. So you are walking away with that. So you not only get your student loan paid, you get even more additional money because you walk away with a pension. I says here, I came from a very education at all cost household. So I went to a private out of state school. That's a ridiculous reason to go to a private out of state school. I'm going to say that part of the reason I suspect they went to the private out of state school was they wanted to get away from home, and that possibly it was somewhat of a ritzy private out of state school. I mean, look at the cost, and I'm aware they're paying extra because it's out of state. But this wasn't, in my opinion. And I think if the Redditor, who's only 25 years old, may I remind you, is really being honest, they use the excuse of, well, my parents said I have to have education at any cost, so I'm going to pick the really nice school out of state, get away from folks for 4 years, and then I'll deal with the bill later. I don't know what a I don't know what a PharmD program is. I'm assuming it's a pharmacy program. Like I said, we literally surf this together. It's like me going live with you guys. Okay. I just turn on Reddit and we just surf together. It says here it didn't work out. Yes, it did not work out because you didn't go to school for the right reasons. You didn't go to school, I believe. Well, first of all, I believe they didn't pick the school that was economically sound. And then I believe also they were doing this partly just to placate their parents. It's just my thinking. No credit card, living at home, no credit card, pretty great credit score, no card payments, no financial commitments or payments. These are irrelevant against the backdrop of $250,000 in student loan. All of that stuff that you say you don't have, it's wrapped up in a student loan and worse. Why? Because you can't go bankrupt on it. If you had credit card debt and you had a house that you couldn't afford, you had car payments, hey, you could go bankrupt on all of that. So it's great that we pat ourselves on the back. And sometimes when we're in a really down position, family, we have to find all the kudos we can give ourselves. I get it. Okay. So it's great. Aside from the student loan, if this is what they had at 25, living at home, no credit card debt, great credit score, all of that, that would be absolutely wonderful. But unfortunately, again, against the backdrop of $250,000 in student loans, and I can't even imagine what the monthly interest is. Okay, this when I say it's irrelevant, it's because this person has so much student loan debt. Who cares that you don't have a credit card or a car payment? You couldn't afford it anyways. Okay, making some bad money, an entry level role in the biotech industry, 63,000. They make exactly what I make. And then, of course, I get the extra teachers for the next 4 years in Tampa, get the extra $5,000 stipend. But without the $5,000 stipend, my base pay is 63,000. Okay, and the stipend started this fall. Okay, again, thanks to the Tampa voters, we appreciate that very much. But 63,000. So he makes exactly what I make. This person at 25. Which is great. I mean, they're making 25 years old. What a teacher makes at 58 years old. But there's also a factor, and that is I'm not sitting on $250,000 worth of debt. I can tell you there is no way I would ever be able to breathe if I were sitting on that much debt. And I understand, we read a lot of these stories, and oftentimes the young people go, oh, I'm just going to pay this all off. Here's the reality I want you to think about. This is a house. There is a reason house payments of $250,000 are spread out over 30 years. There's a reason that house payments that are $250,000 homes, that the best incomes only might pay it off in 15 years. So when I see someone who says, they've got $250,000 worth of debt, and we're not including the monthly interest that's coming on, that's making what I make, this is a nightmare. And the ability to pay it off really fast, then people who own $250,000 homes would be able to knock it out in 5-10 years, right? But why don't we? Because there's something called life and other obligations and duties that we have, voluntary or not, we have to make those bills. We have to make those payments. So the 63,000, exactly what I make, this is a tough situation. There's no sugarcoating a situation like this. And this is why I've said on this channel over and over, I have said, can we get to a point where there is a point of no return? Can we get ourselves so far in debt that it is going to be near impossible, sheer of a miracle, to pay it off? Yes, I believe we can. Do I think this has the potential to be that debt? Yes. And the reason I say yes is, again, they make what I make. And I carried a $110,000 student loan, and I couldn't pay it off. And at the time, I think I was making around 58,000. So not a huge pay difference. Excuse me. So not a huge pay difference from the 63. I couldn't pay it off. And I'm pretty freaking frugal. Okay. 840 square feet, drive a Toyota Corolla, yada, yada. No kids, no credit card bills. All right. And I couldn't pay it off. Let's see. The team is grooming this person. Again, this was just 4 months ago. The team is grooming me to become a well-rounded professional. Career outlook isn't terrible. Might make 6 figures within the next 2 years. Okay, you might make it, but then you might not. And here's the other kicker. Okay, if you do make 6 figures in the next 2 years, does this mean you're planning, I'm assuming, on living at home? You're probably not planning on having any relationships or anything as far as, hey, let's get married and have kids. Because if you do that, you're 25, all right? Because if you do that, I guarantee it to you, that $250,000 student loan is going to become $300,000 before you know it, because you're going to have other obligations that you want to deal with. In the 20s is a really tough time. In mid-20s, pushing 30 can be a really tough time period. to commit yourself to that much debt, because the bottom line is you're going to get tired of paying it. I want you to think about it. This kid probably isn't even 10 years out of high school and is in this much financial debt. This money about emergency savings, 15 in emergency savings, 4,000 in a Roth. Again, okay, great. Keep the emergency savings. I would dump the Roth. Well, maybe I wouldn't dump the Roth. It's a retirement account. It can build. But here's the problem. Again, when you have so much debt, all right, anything, this 15,000 emergency savings, the 5,000 respectively, I think it's 4.7K in a Roth. Keep it. If it's the one thing that makes you happy and it gives you some sense of stability, when you're in this much debt, I wouldn't want to take that away from them. All right. And 15,000, here's the hard part. You could put the whole emergency savings towards the 250,000. I'm willing to bet I'm willing to bet they are paying at least 15,000 a year in interest alone. No, I'm not willing to bet. I already know they are. You see, this is where a savings account and trying to save for retirement, I'm kind of iffy about that retirement thing. When I was in a whole lot of student loan debt, I told myself, I figured I might have to retire with that debt. And believe me, when I tell you guys, I thank the good man above every single day that I was able to get that forgiven. That is not something I take that with the deepest of gratitude. Now, I did earn my stars and stripes for that, teaching middle school for 16 years. And as you know, I'm in my 20th year now. So I had to do my due diligence. Okay. I'm not just in there going, oh, Lord, please make it go away. And then, I'm changing jobs. I'm going in and out of it. And I can't ever fulfill the requirements for PSLF. I put my nose to the wheel and I stayed there until it was paid off. Okay. But had it not been paid off, had I not been able to afford ever getting out of it, I would have still saved for retirement and I would have just taken the student loan into retirement with me. But I think at 25 years old, I don't think this is just my opinion. The 4.7 in a Roth account, you could leave it there, but I probably wouldn't go adding to it because again, you have this huge student debt. And that's the hard part. Also, you can put a lot of money towards the student debt and it's not even going to make a dent. I mean, could you imagine this? Okay. You got $250,000 in student loan debt. The interest has got to be it's in the thousands. So let's just say you put $5,000 towards it. I'm willing to bet that doesn't even cover the interest for a month. Matter of fact, I'm positive it doesn't cover the interest for a month on 250,000. See, this is why you have to be so careful about getting into massive debt because it's like, man, I could put $5,000 towards that bill. And I mean, and it's a huge feeding machine. And remember, they only make 63,000. This part here about loving the parents to death, but they push the loans on me. It's easy for people to say, you shouldn't listen to your parents. You have your own mind. Yes and no. Let's be honest. How many of us listen to our parents in our out of high school into our early 20s? And if our parents say do something, we're going to do it. And part of the reason we're still going to do it is we are still, dependent on them. Many of us are. Many of us are not totally independent, even at 20, even into our early 20s. So part of the control that parents have is they can still control what you do and don't do. And it says here, an education at all cost household. So the parents are promising, they're going to help me, that I shouldn't worry about the money, despite, the Redditor saying, is this too much money? But as I've told you, I believe that when parents say things like, hey, just take out the loan, we'll help you pay it back. No, that's an absolute no-go. Because parents' financial situations can change also. A parent can have a $150,000 a year job and then lose it. And that's after they told you to take out a whole bunch of student loan debt and now they can't pay the debt. I'm a genuine believer that if parents say they're going to pay for the student loan, it needs to be paid for quarter by quarter, semester by semester. In other words, you ain't going to school until your parents have paid that quarter's bill. If that quarter bill is not paid and your parents say, hey, we'll pay it down the road. No disrespect to parents, because I'm not a parent myself, but I'm going to say no, because parents' finances can change. And if you as the student are relying on your parent to pay off the bill and the student loan is in your name, it's in the student's name, that gets pretty questionable. Now, if the parents want to stick it in a Parent Plus loan and go broke doing that, which I do not recommend, okay, and you're going and your parents are legally obligated to the bill, then go ahead and go to school. But if parents are saying you pay for the bill and then we'll pay you back and you're questioning it, that's when you have to use your own mind and you have to go with your own gut hunch. But this Redditor, I'm going to tell this 25-year-old Redditor, you can't sit and be bitter at your parents about this because one, they are your parents. It's probably not going to make dinner time at the Thanksgiving table, as Dave Ramsey would say, very enjoyable. So this is something the Redder is just going to have to accept. They listen to their parents. Parents clearly are not paying the bill, and I don't think the parents are interested in paying the bill. And the Redder is going to have to embrace their responsibility towards this student loan debt. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at another story. See, this is how it works. We just skim stories together. Let's see. Oh, well, let's look at this one. Just graduated with a doctorate in OT. What is OT? And 300K, holy Jesus, and federal student loans, feeling overwhelmed. This is 2 months ago. Again, I look at this with you. All right, here we go. Put in the comments what you're doing while you're listening to this. I know some of you guys exercise. I think someone walks their dog too. Okay, just graduated with a doctorate in OT. What is OT? Why don't you Redditors spell out some of these degrees? And 300,000 in federal student loans, feeling overwhelmed. All right, 2 months ago, let's hit it. As the title says, I recently graduated with a doctoral degree in occupational therapy. Thank you. Okay, and I'm sitting on 300,000 in federal student loan debt. Now that I'm out, I'm starting to realize how predatory this system feels. I'll probably max out around 110 to 120,000 a year, unless I open my own practice, and that's not even guaranteed. I'm not planning on having kids, and at this point, I'm just looking for the lowest possible monthly payment. Ideally, I just pay the minimum and write it out until forgiveness or death, whichever comes first. Feeling kind of alone in this. I'm wondering if anyone else is in a similar boat. Could they do pay EIBR or PSLF? All right. 300. Why are physical therapy degrees so freaking much? I will never understand why an occupational therapist degree is just, I have a therapist when I need to go see, for my knees. I haven't been in about a year, but I do have a designated office, my knee surgeon that, I can go see a therapist. All the visits that I need. Thank you to my district's medical insurance coverage. $300,000 in federal debt, and now is starting to realize how predatory the system feels. How many people take out these student loan debts? These really big student loan debts have never even so much as paid off $1,000 bill. You know why it feels predatory? It feels predatory because we were not prepared to pay the bill. We did not do the math to pay the bill. That's why it feels so predatory. Nothing feels predatory when you've done the math, you accept the numbers, you've assessed whether or not it works for you, and then you take the loan with confidence. I have a Toyota Corolla hybrid. I bought it spring 2024. The purchase did not feel predatory at all. Why? Because I did the numbers. I figured out how much it would cost me. Was it within my budget? I said yes, signed on it, paid it off in 9 months. Even when I leased a car, a lot of people will say, oh, leasing a car feels predatory. Again, it doesn't feel predatory if you know what you're doing. And when I leased a car for 5 years before I purchased a car, okay, I absolutely loved it. It brought me the biggest peace of mind ever. In fact, if I could lease a car for the rest of my life, I would actually lease a car and I would never own one. But it's just not financially smart for years and years and decades to do it that way. It's just like if I never had to own property, I wouldn't. I'd be a renter for the rest of my life. I would have no problem doing that. But again, it's not financially wise or smart in most circumstances and under most people's budget and what they can afford. But see, we say here, we start to realize how predatory the system feels. People getting student loan debt, you need to realize it before you take on the debt. And I understand that's very difficult to do that because when we take on the debt, we're so excited about that degree and maybe we're excited about leaving home for the first time. We're going to follow our significant or our friends or whomever. We're going to follow them into the sunset to the college of our choice. And for years, we're going to ignore all of life and having to pay the bill back. And then we look at the bill and then we say how predatory it is. It would not feel predatory if you had done the math in advance. And again, I'm not shaming. I didn't do the math in advance and I got the bill in my 30s. But if you talk to people who attend community college, who lived at home, buckled down probably with a part-time, even full-time job, well, they went to community college, graduated, maybe they only had, $10,000 in debt. They were able to wipe it out real fast. I'm willing to bet if you talk to a lot of people, okay, who went to community college, they're going to tell you it did not feel predatory. In fact, they'll probably tell you it was like a breath of fresh air, especially now looking at all the student loan debt people have gotten themselves into. This is why credit cards feel predatory, because we aren't prepared. with what it takes to pay off a credit card. Always remember that. What is predatory are the things you don't know, and that you either choose, okay, to not pay attention to. You choose not to learn about it, either because you just simply are too lazy to do it. I'm being honest, okay, or you're just ignorant, like you didn't quite know what questions to ask. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. But if you want to keep money from feeling predatory, understand what you're spending before you spend it. One of my big goals is to for the end of this school year, for next summer 2026, I want to celebrate the success of my YouTube channel. Hey, it's channel's coming along, thanks to you guys. Okay, but I really want to celebrate that. I also want to celebrate the completion of my 20th year, which means I'll be entering my 21st year, and I want to get some new living room furniture. Cost about I think it's around $4 or $5,000 to get that. All right. Um, it's a chunk of money, but what am I going to do? I'm going to save it up first. That's what I will do. And then I will go to the furniture store and I will pay for it in cash when they're having some 50% off sale. Okay, because I don't ever buy furniture full price. Now then, what I could choose to do is they got a sale going on right now. All right, I could go run it up on a credit card. Okay, pay 30% interest. I'd never do this. Okay, just work with me here. Okay, pay 30% interest and then sit there and tell you how incredibly predatory it feels that I'm paying 30% interest on some, let's say, $5,000 worth of furniture because I couldn't afford it. See? So if you want to avoid the predatory feeling, always know your budget and your numbers and stick to it before you buy it. I could actually buy it now at no cost, but I'm not ready to buy it yet. I'm the type that if I'm going to buy something, especially like, a $4 or $5,000 purchase, it has to be a reward for something really well done. In other words, I don't just go out and I haven't bought furniture in 14 years. Okay. A couch set is what I want. All right. I haven't done that in 14 years. Matter of fact, the couch my butt sits on right now, I had this couch since the time that I was married and I got divorced in 2013. So do the math on that. All right. So it's about 14, 15 years old. And as far as I'm concerned, it can hold on for about another 10 months while I, have some more goals with YouTube that I need to create and other goals. So always know that you will never feel victimized if you will do the budget in advance. And it doesn't matter if the item is big or small. This thing here, I'm not planning on not having kids, and I'm looking forward to the lowest monthly payment. What do we know what happens with the lowest monthly payment? What do we know? Yes, we know here there are $300,000 in federal student loans. You want the lowest monthly payment. Ideally, I just pay out the minimum and write it out until forgiveness or death. Well, let's see. If you're paying the lowest monthly payment, it's just going to keep going up, up, up. They're federal, so you can stay on income-based payment and you will pay that potentially for the rest of your life. And this ought to be attractive for relationships. Hey, by the way, I have $300,000 in federal student loans. I have no way to pay them off. I am paying the minimum until I die, because we know we can't count on lotteries and things like that. And that's certainly not a way to budget, nor is an inheritance a way to budget. All right. We have to stick to the realistic basics. Anybody want to shack up with somebody who's got $300,000 in federal or in any student loan debt? It's sad because I don't want people thinking that I'm sitting here and judging all these people. Yeah, we're all judging. Okay. Let's face it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use my experience, with my student loan debt and trying to show you guys the pitfalls that people go through and the pitfalls, including myself, that I went through. I never sat down and actually looked at it. I feel so stupid about that now. I really do. It's like, God, Carrie, you were in a master's program, 2 master programs, and you never stopped to go, hey, gee, I wonder what the bill is. All I looked at was what was the monthly payment, just like this Redditor is doing here. Okay. I'm just looking for the lowest possible monthly payment. You can take a $300,000 student loan bill. They can probably knock it down to around, income based. I'm going to estimate that they could probably do it for around 1,700 or so, because the payment on it's going to be astronomical. And that's sad. Oh, and now don't forget now, folks, in 2026, the new federal student loan rules roll out. Okay. And a lot of those income payment options are fading out. So keep that in mind. But those don't start till 2026. Don't worry, this channel will keep you well posted on it when it comes up. All right. Let's say, what else do we have for those who are sticking around? Um, let's see. Hold on here. Why do some people literally never check their financial account and student loan summary pages? Oh, let's look into that because I just got to telling you I never looked at my student loan account either. Okay, let's check here. This is from 4 months ago. So in my Reddit feed, I keep tabs on a number of credit related subs as well as this sub. I noticed the past few months I've been seeing a lot of these. My credit score suddenly dropped 200 points overnight due to defaulted student loans. What happened? Style posts trickling in when scrolling down my feed. Another one that is common is the but I moved a couple times over the last 5 years and they sent such and such notice to an old address. Sob story. It really makes me wonder if there are people out there who are full grown working adults who literally never check their financial accounts, like not even logging into your financial credit account landing page once a month or so. Personally, I check my financial accounts multiple times a month. I'm never caught off guard. It takes less than 2 minutes per account. And every time I move to a new apartment or whatever, within the very first days at the new unit, I meticulously go through every single financial account, insurance agent, checking account, etc., and make sure to update the old address to my new address in the system. Gee, is this person like looking for a round of applause? Let's see if I have an applause button. My applause button up here that I can give them. Hold on, because I think they may want a round of applause, but I don't know if my button is up. Let's see. Hold on here. Oh, here we go. Let's see if this works. Okay. Believe it or not, I don't have my headset on, so I can't hear if that applause is there. So if it was dead silent, we can applaud quietly in our head. It's because I don't have my headset on, as you can see. Okay, here. Just like I said, here's why people don't check their account. It's many reasons, but I can only go with mine. I was just too stupid. I was. I was just so excited to get the degree and all that. All I cared about was the monthly payment. And I'm not saying that I only care about it because, that's all I thought I would pay. It just a lot of taking on student loan debt, it's the frame of mind you're in. It's kind of like relationships. Okay. And when you're in a bad relationship and you look back and you go, oh my God, how did I stay with that person all those years? It's your frame of mind. And people can go, didn't you realize that was a bad relationship? Didn't you know it wasn't working out? Weren't all the signs on the wall? Yeah, they were all there. Didn't you see the signs? Yeah, I saw them. So why'd you ignore it? Frame of mind. And in many ways, student loan debt works very much the same way. And if your frame of mind is such that I'm so excited about getting out of the house, moving away from my parents 4 years to live up my partying dream lifestyle. I get to visit the nice gyms on campus, USB outlets everywhere. They probably provide free entertainment and stuff. In other words, we're just living the life for 4 years. It's your frame of mind isn't thinking how much debt am I taking out while I'm in school. And then when you get out of school, part of the reason I think people don't look at the accounts, it's the fear of looking at it. It's scary to look at that bill. It's scary to go, "Oh my god," I can't believe I took out 75,000, 150,000, whatever. It's really scary to do that. And so what winds up happening is you just conveniently ignore it. Now, I can tell you in my case, it wasn't that I conveniently ignored it. I was just dumb about it. Like it didn't dawn on me that, hey, Carrie, you're up to $50,000 in student loans, 60, 70, 80, 85. I wound up taking out 85. It never registered in my brain. Now, I could say part of it is at the time, okay, my marriage wasn't great. Managed to hang on for like another 10 years before we divorced. But I really think like today would be a totally different experience with me going to school. I would know just how much I was taking out. I would know the backdrop of the income that I currently have to pay it off. Would be able to tell you, oh no, there's no way I'm taking that. That is way too much money. But what's changed? My frame of mind changed. That's what's changed. And again, it's part frame of mind and it's part just pure denial. We don't want to look at the bill. And part of it is if I don't look at the bill, okay, and I keep making my minimum payment, then maybe in some ways, it'll be less painful dealing with the fact that I took out all this student loan debt. But there are, and I totally understand because I was in that crowd. There is a crowd of people that don't understand that the student loan bill goes up and up. I never knew, and I mean it on my late mother's and grandmother's grave. Okay, I never knew that income-based payment didn't cover the interest. Why did I not know it? One, I'm mathematically stupid. I mean, guys, I count on my fingers. Okay. We all know that. All right. And thanks to the one person that wrote in earlier this week, and she said she also counts on her fingers. So I know I'm not alone. Okay. But I'm mathematically dumb. And the other part is, and this is very true, I didn't think any student loan program would make a payment so low that it couldn't be paid off. I never realized that. I never knew that. Hey, you know what? They will give you a payment so low that you mathematically cannot pay it off. I never knew that. So those are reasons as to why people don't check their student loan balance. I mean, of course, there's more, but those are the ones that I'm immediately thinking of. Okay, let's look at this is five. This is law school that it only has 64 comments, but let's take a look here. Law school debt. I'm planning to apply to law school in the 2027 school year with UCLA as my top choice. Oh, there we go with the money. But I already have $122,000 in student debt from a previous graduate program. Face palm, everybody. I'm worried about adding another six figures of law school debt on top of that, especially if I don't get a big scholarship. I'm taking time to build a strong application, aiming for a high LSAT. I assume that's the law school score. I don't know what it means, though. But I'm still unsure if this path makes financial sense. Has anyone gone to law school with significant prior debt? Was it worth it? Let me tell you something. Okay, let's back up a couple articles here, okay? People talking about their $300,000 worth of debt and how they feel like they're just living for their student loan and all that stuff. The writing was already on the wall. It was already there. This person already has, again, this is 5 months ago. They already have $122,000 in debt. They want to go to law school, UCLA. Okay, there you go. In 2027, the writing is already on the wall, just like a bad relationship. Gee, you still went to law school? Yeah, but you already had $122,000 in debt. Yep, I pretended to be making all this money, but it never came through. And now I'm strapped living at my parents' house and I have $300,000 in debt. So I would tell this student here that wrote this in 5 months ago. Well, I've never been through law school debt. Debt is debt to some extent, regardless of the amount, it is debt. And as far as people have been through this, I couldn't get myself out of 110,000. Now, some people go, oh, but they're going to make a lot of money as a lawyer. You don't know that. You have no idea if they're going to make a lot of money as a lawyer. Matter of fact, I'm almost thinking there are probably more broke lawyers than there are rich lawyers. All right, this is from a year ago, over 100K in student loans. And even though it's from a year ago, we don't care because, the debt is still around. Mine stuck around for 16 years until I got it forgiven. Over 100K in student loans is my life just over. 29 years old. They make $65,000. Again, only a couple thousand more than what I gross. All right. But very little dispensable income due to some medical bills over the last few years. I don't have much money. Oh, this is a perfect situation of what I was in. Okay. My initial undergrad was cheap, 30,000. It was a state school. During COVID, I was told to, quote, learn to code. I was previously a biz management person. I was alone, no family, didn't know the best route to take, but I found a good private school with an onboarding program for comp sci. Expensive, but it did help me. I'm struggling post school. I have a job. I'm looking for higher paid work, but the market is very hard. Medical issues require me to work from home. Loans are beginning next month. I'm terrified. Remember, this is a year ago. The little money I have, I try to go out once a month, take care of a senior dog who's my best friend. That's it. I was never naturally good at comp sci. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I read all the horror stories on my night off, $1,300 to $2,000 a month bill. I've never had a monthly bill that high. I can't afford it purely. Life is so short. I want to enjoy any moment of my time here. This makes me feel like I'll have no life. I could pay $300 a month, maybe. I'll sell my car for it, but that's all I have. My provider is Nelnet. Will they work with me? My answer, probably not. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I'm up all night scared. I just want my loans to die with me. I don't need an aggressive payoff strategy, but I need a manageable monthly payment. I may make more next year or the year after if I can get on my feet. I don't know if I'll have to sell my dog, have my best friend watch my dog and care for him, give up the little joy I have. I knew these things were coming and I have to pay a bill. Of course, I regret doing an expensive program, but I didn't know better. I had no guidance of family. I did what I thought was needed to. So during COVID, where I was unemployed too, it's hard. I'm scared. Okay. I'm not trying to throw a pity party, but I'm distressed. I did honestly think they'd work with me, meaning Nelnet. I'm applying for better jobs and doing what I can. If I made 100K, I'd be less worried, but I don't have it now. What can I do? All right. go up to the top here. Give me just a second. 29 years old, they make 65K. Um, this part about is life over? No, life is not over because you have a ridiculous amount of student loan debt. However, it may look very different from what you'd like it to, from what you would like it to be. In other words, and again, I'm gonna go back to it. You're young, you sound like you're a single person. It may be very difficult to have relationships beyond anything short term. Guys, I'm being real honest. Okay. People, oh, I want, a lifelong relationship, yada, yada, and I'm going to be bringing in my six-figure student loan debt with it. I am not saying that it is not possible. Okay. To say, hey, I have 150,000, $200,000 in debt and I found true love and we got married. Okay. I would like to know the income bracket of the person that you married. That's all I'm saying. I would like to know the income bracket because two people making, there's two school teacher incomes, hypothetically, okay? You'd have to live on one and the other one would have to, everything would have to go to the student loan. The part of where they talk about they're scared, they've heard the horror stories, $1,300 to $2,000 a month. Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. If you're going to pay it off, I think it's in like the 20-year mark or something like that. I've never had a monthly bill that high. That's the famous last words of people with student loan debt. I never thought my bill would be that high. And then I've never had a bill that high. Life is so short. I want to enjoy any moment of my time here. My suggestion is don't get yourself into debt that is manageable. I want to enjoy my dog. I want to enjoy what time I have here. But while I'm doing it, I'm going to rack up six figures of debt. Hey, my heart is with these guys. Okay. I understand. I totally get it. Makes you feel like I have no life. And this is what debt does to you. And here's the kicker. It's not just student loan debt that's going to make you feel like you have no life. You could have a business and it can make you feel like you have no life. Okay. Difference is, of course, you can go bankrupt on a business, start over and restart your life over. They're saying I could pay $300 maybe. I'm telling you, this is my situation. Okay. I was paying about $350 a month on my student loan, and it went from $85,000 to $110,000 in 16 years. Maybe I'll sell my car for it. It's not going to make a difference. Might as well keep the car. It's not going to make a dent in it. And even with the dog, even though I understand that, we all get dogs are a luxury. I guess my question is, okay, so if your dog winds up with a $10,000 vet bill, can you afford to pay it? You can say you want to enjoy your life and you want to, enjoy the little things and all of that stuff. You've got to look at what you're doing to yourself in the process, however, to keep that enjoyment from coming. I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I've started doing for myself, and I don't consider it lifestyle creep because I don't do big major purchases and not without paying for it in cash. But one of the little enjoyment things, I'm gonna call this one of the little enjoyment things I've started doing. I love the fresh fruit tubs at Publix, and they cost like $13. But I absolutely love the fresh fruit tubs. And I'm a believer, this is just me, okay? I don't think buying a whole watermelon, then having to carry that sucker up the stairs with my arthritic knees and then cut it up, throw away the rind, and then I got to throw away the whole trash bag because I'm not leaving trash, in my garbage inside my kitchen overnight in all 840 square feet that I live in. Okay, I'm not leaving a big old watermelon rind in there. So that trash has to go out. I have to put in a new trash bag. I really don't think buying a watermelon and cutting it up myself saves me a whole lot of money. So at the age of 58, I now buy my fresh fruit all cut up, diced. I got my limes, I got my cantaloupes, my watermelon, and 3 grapes they put inside. But I have come to really, really enjoy it. And again, I have no credit card bills. All my debt is clear. I mean, we understand we pay property taxes, things like that. We're never really free of debt. We get that. But as far as owing, creditors because of mortgage, car, credit card, stuff like that, I don't have any of that. But I have started going and buying myself little treats and stuff. So, this person here, they're sitting there saying, their $100,000 in debt makes them feel like they have no life. That's exactly what student loans do. You spend the 4 years of life living it up on campus, and then you get out and then you realize, oh my God, I've never paid a bill that was 1,000, much less 100,000. Think about that. For those of you who are thinking about running up all your student loan debt, I challenge you to work two full-time jobs first, okay? And tell me when you feel like quitting. Oh, I'm going to bet some of you won't last a month doing that. Now, imagine having to do that for the next 20 years as you pay off your student loan bill. I almost think it's like there should be some sort of requirement to really show students what it's like to pay off debt, because that's a lot of the problem. Students just don't know that they have no concept of how hard it is to pay off a bill. So yeah, I totally understand and I totally respect why they might be scared. Oh, we're 40 minutes in. Is anybody still here? If you're still here, could you put in the comments still here? Hopefully Susan is still here. She usually sticks out. She usually sticks out the whole video with me. Okay. And I appreciate that. All right. Let's see here. Oh, let's see what new stuff we have here. Oh, telling my nightmare student loan story 11 years ago. Well, hey, we can learn from 11 years ago. Always remember, guys, the thing about student loan, thing about debt in general, it doesn't matter when the debt occurred, we can learn from it. So let's hear this student loan horror story from 11 years ago, which means they're probably still in debt today, but we'll find out. Statistically, if it's a big enough bill, they're still in debt. Telling my nightmare student loan story. I graduated from the University of California system, not to be confused with the California State University system, in 2009 with a degree in physics. When I started, all I heard about were the thousands upon thousands of engineering jobs in Silicon Valley that I could easily get paying upwards of 75,000 a year starting out. Not in 2009. In fact, as the economy tumbled in 2008, I decided to do the smart thing and prepare for graduate school. I had interest in law and realized that taking physics GREs was incredibly intimidating with little payoff in terms of careers outside of academia. So I took the LSAT and applied to a bunch of law schools. I got into a third tier school specializing in intellectual property law and decided to move out of state to commit 3 years. My parents rightfully cut me off after university, and I decided to fund to fund the whole thing. 40,000 per year plus living expenses with loans. Being smart in math and science does not mean, and they wrote that in capital letters, being smart financially, something I used to just take for granted. Well, I graduated law school in 2012 thinking I'd have around $120,000 in debt, and that's a nice 130,000 year job would be waiting for me. I was wrong. As interest continued to accrue as it has been since 2009, no law firms wanted to talk to me unless they knew for certain that I had passed the exam. I studied like crazy that summer and took it July 2012, but wouldn't hear the results until November 2012, after, in all caps, not paying any attention at all to my debt for 3 years. Oh my God. I finally signed up for an account with the loan middleman service company and realized my debt was $193,000. Three exclamation points, capital letters. I just messed up my life. I had no income, and that was a bad time to graduate law school. I thought the world had messed me over. I thought I was one of the smart, responsible ones, thinking things through, making smart decisions to ultimately become a successful contributor to society. But I was wrong. I thought Obama and the government had failed me. Remember, this was 11 years ago. I thought my parents didn't paint me the whole picture. I thought my law school was a scam. Something went wrong, and I didn't know what the heck it was. Now, I'm not an idiot. I was financially literate, but not an idiot. In November, I found out I passed the bar exam in California. Phew. I don't know what the heck I would have done if I hadn't, and my thoughts went out to those that didn't. All 45% exam takers in California, I guess, don't pass. Needless to say, I went hard to find a job. I called everyone I knew in the field, parents, teachers, former teachers, my in laws, school advisors, cold called to firms. That debt was accruing fast, and I was scared. Here's the worst part: the interest rate hovered between 8.5%, 8%, and 6.5%. It was killing me. I finally got a job February 2012, making a good income of 80,000 per year as an attorney in Silicon Valley. That was okay, but Silicon Valley is expensive. A single bedroom apartment now runs 1740 a month. There was nothing cheaper that was within a 20-minute commute from work. 1 year later, I changed payments back to a 19-year schedule and interest capitalized. 10% of my wages weren't even taking care of the interest. The principal on my loan shot up to $202,000. Holy cow. Okay. So, in other words, this person is on a payment, I guess a 19-year payment schedule, and they're giving up 10%. That's a lot. They're giving up 10% of their wages, and it's not even covering the interest. So their bill shoots up to 202,000. I thought I'm supposed to be successful here. I'd landed a job against the odds, passed the bar exam. Where did I go wrong? I'm earning money. I'm living modestly with other people. Expenses are low, except for housing. Then I looked closely at my statements. I had been making extra payments, but that didn't matter. Through trickery and cunning, my standard payment was just being postponed all the way through 2017. Hence the interest capitalized, and then those postponed payments were scheduled, and some other weird stuff that I don't care to understand, which I know is part of the problem. I worked hard that first year and a half and got a few raises. I earned up to 130,000. I feel really lucky. Because of this, I decided to move into my own apartment. This was not a mistake for me. Having my own space, I was able to focus on priorities, judgments aside, but that's a good wage. And actually, I would agree with that. Okay, it was 130 back then, and I should be able to at least live in my own apartment. One of those priorities was to go full goal on paying off these loans. So, starting July of this year, I started going crazy on them. Literally every penny I could scrounge up. I keep a minor rainy day fund and a savings account of 1,500, and everything else is going to my student loans. So here I am eating top ramen in my mediocre 650 square foot single bedroom apartment. No special amenities, no luxuries. I'm an attorney making good money with a massive amount of debt that's coming down fast. The debt is now at 161,000. So they dropped it from 202,000 to 161,000. There is an end in sight. I've said it for 4 years now down the road. The sad thing is I'm the successful one. I can't imagine what it's like for those that went to a worse law school or didn't have as good of an undergraduate degree or didn't have the connections or didn't have the social skills or didn't pass the bar exam or got a lower paying job in a worse field. And every other possibility that I really believe that they had little control over. Cheers to my brethren, massive debtors. We're in it together and we will see it through. The bottom line, I went into debt, accrued to $200,000, got a good job, and I'm working to pay it down fast.